Happy Monday, everyone. How are you doing? We are here for your WWE Raw review for March 11th, 2024. Hopefully you guys are having a great night. What did you think of that show? What did you think about the main event? I thought it was great. WWE really doing the right thing in the gauntlet match main event. Intercontinental title number one contender match on Raw tonight, with the two finalists being the two right guys. Pretty much everybody had Sami Zayn or Chad Gable winning this thing, and they booked it to come right down to the two of them with a ton of adversity for Sami Zayn. He had to wrestle a couple of matches, and there was even a post-match beatdown. Gable was out last, and Sami still got it done, rolling up Gable, escaping several pinning attempts there and a couple of ankle locks to get the win and move forward. I liked it. It did have a lot of the audience torn. I was torn, although I was trying my best to tell myself not to be disappointed in the outcome, but to be happy, because I was going to be disappointed and happy. I was going to be disappointed for whichever one of these two gentlemen lost tonight, but I was also going to be really happy for whichever guy won tonight. And I also thought there was a couple of possibilities. I thought maybe, since it was a gauntlet match scenario, we could see the return of Brock Lesnar come back or something, or even some sort of a double pin, or a double finish, or a false finish, something like that, that would then make the Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania a triple threat. I was kind of looking for those possible scenarios there, but in the end, it was Sami Zayn winning a very good 40-minute match, I think, on Monday Night Raw. Gauntlet match to determine Gunther's challenger for WrestleMania. We now know who that is. It's going to be Sami Zayn. It felt pretty apparent that it was going to be Sami, especially a couple of weeks ago when he was trying to find his path to WrestleMania. And then he was confronted backstage by Gunther. And I'm like, oh, there you go. That's going to be Sami's, story right there, is beating Gunther. And what better guy to beat for Sami Zayn to kind of get that confidence and that mojo back rolling again than a guy that's been on an unbelievable undefeated streak and has held that title longer than anyone else in history. But then again, when you look at Chad Gable and everything they set up last year with Gunther and Gable and those great matches, man, getting a final battle between these two at WrestleMania with Gable finally going over in an Intercontinental title classic would be so great for WrestleMania. So I think either way, we were going to be doing pretty good at WrestleMania. Now with Sami Zayn and Gunther penciled in as your Intercontinental Championship match, I think that one has a lot of potential to be a show stealer. Another big moment for Sami Zayn. Last year, winning in the main event of night one, and now getting a chance to be the guy that's going to dethrone Gunther. Even though Sami Zayn has been Intercontinental Champion before, a win here, it's a much different Intercontinental Championship belt than the one he was carrying just a couple of years ago. I think he was having that in the Thunderdome days, right? And this is a whole different championship now because of what Gunther has done for it. So this is going to be a huge win if he's able to do it, or if Gunther's going to keep on rolling. Don't forget, Gunther beat Sheamus and McIntyre last year at WrestleMania, so beating Sami Zayn feels like it should be within his skill level, but then again, they might be telling a bigger story with Sami Zayn. I liked a comment I saw a minute ago from JD Jones, new channel member. Welcome, my friend. Also, you might see your name scroll across the bottom there. I tried to work on some of those shout-outs, the new channel members, Patreon followers, things like that. You'll see some of that, me being on top of that a little bit better than I have been in the past. But JD says, in a perfect scenario, Sami Zayn is in Seth's spot in the tag team match, freeing up Gunther to defend against Gable. They've set so much up with Seth Rollins now. I can't see that really being a possibility since Sami hasn't really been a part of that, but it would work, especially with what went on with Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. I wouldn't hate that idea. It just feels like in order to get there between now and WrestleMania, they would have to uproot a lot of what they've done, and I just don't really see that being the case. Drew McIntyre, we're going to talk about him tonight. He was out there giving Seth Rollins a lot of shit. Drew is like a jealous girl or a jealous guy in a relationship, not getting enough attention from his boyfriend or girlfriend and getting all butthurt about it. So we'll talk about that. But maybe if Seth Rollins were to decide that Drew McIntyre is worth all of his attention, then maybe Sami Zayn's got to step in and take his place. I just don't see how they would really get there. But they set up some pretty good stuff tonight. I liked Cody's interview. We're going to talk a little bit about Cody's sit-down interview in the ring with Michael Cole. Tears were shed. He tried very, very hard to cry, got choked up talking about his mom. But when I saw that promo tonight, if you kind of read between the lines there, seems like a man who's about to win the championship to me. So we will see if WWE pulls the rug out from underneath Cody Rhodes again this year at WrestleMania 40. But based on what we saw from him tonight with Michael Cole, feeling pretty good about Cody going into WrestleMania. We also had a women's tag team championship match tonight on Raw. Big announcement also regarding the tag team championships for the men. Not the announcement I was expecting when Aldis and Pierce said that they were going to have a joint announcement together regarding the tag team titles. I just thought it was going to be, creating new titles for SmackDown or separating the belts back out so they have two sets. That's not what they did. They did something else instead, and I'm very, very optimistic about that, although there is a chance they could still be splitting the belts up in the future. Also, we had some WWE Hall of Fame news. We'll get into Muhammad Ali's induction into the Hall of Fame. Some sad news to report on CJ Perry and Miro. And about an hour or two before Raw went live tonight, we have some new information on the Vince McMahon lawsuit that was reported by Tim Marchman, Brandon Thurston, and John Pollock of Front Office Sports. So we will be getting into that as well. Hello, everybody. Hello, Jerry. What's going on? Welcome to your WWE Raw review. Like I said, glad you're here tonight. Do me a big favor. Please be a subscriber if you're not one already. Click that subscribe button. I really need the likes to help drive engagement. So let's try to get at least up to like 150 likes on this video. That would be superb if we could do that. And I'm going to go over here to the chat right now. Shout out everybody. Say hello to channel members and super chats and shit like that. And then we will start getting into some wrestling news because we have to talk a little bit about Vince McMahon. Never ends, but I was hoping we were kind of in the middle of a break from a lot of this stuff, and what we learned today wasn't earth-shattering, but still significant, and the process is still ongoing, so we'll talk about that in just a second. But before we do, let me say hello. I'm going to target our channel members first, so I'm going to start with Zach Palgett. Good to see you, my friend. Jay Lambo is here as well. JD Jones, we got the OG JJ Leg. Red Raven Rucker is here. OTS Tribal Queen. Another new one. We got Denny Downbad. We got the Juliet in the house. We got Max Pokebra. We have Nick Musser, along with Bo Kavlovic. Joshua Aparicio, another channel member, dropping in $9.99. Hey, Greg, happy Rusev Day. Just imagine Christian Cage on stage tonight. So Cody Rhodes, just imagine Christian Cage on stage tonight. So Cody Rhodes, I hear that you have a father. Oh, yeah, and that your father's dead. Imagine this feud could happen. I mean, if we can get present-day Christian and present-day Cody in the same ring for a segment together, people's fathers are going to be brought up. That is for sure. That's hilarious. Yep, that would be funny, Joshua, but good to see you as always. Glad you're here. We got Chris Barrera in the house as well. Want to shout out Darren Pfeffer, who's dropping in $5 for us. Thank you for that, my friend. Does Chad Gable not know how to grapevine an ankle lock? Did he not watch Angle? It was kind of weird. I ain't gonna lie. I kind of agree with you there because he came in last and he's going up against not only a guy that had to work a couple of matches, but got beat down after his one victory. He beat Bronson Reed and then got his ass kicked and then had to beat Nakamura. And then Gable came down to, just pick up the pieces and couldn't get it done even when he had the ankle lock applied, I believe, twice on Sami Zayn. I guess the story they're trying to tell here is how hard Sami is fighting and how much adversity he is facing, but a pit bull like Chad Gable, who you would think learned from some of the best and was influenced by some of the best, like Kurt Angle, what a great find that motherfucking leg and just gotten the match over with. That's Gable's fault. He's probably going to be kicking himself in his shorty G ass in the back tonight. How Weezy's here as well. Good to see you, my friend. Ben Espinoza up in here. Also Ken Webb and Michael Cuomo. So pretty good. Oh, and I'm sorry. And we also have Zach Goller, my homeboy. Oh, yeah. And Jordan H is here. Almost missed some channel members there. I want to say hello also to our good friend of ours, Kick to the Gut Wrestling Podcast. Glad you're here. Good to see you. Not going to lie, we were rooting for Chad Gable. Dude, I was too. I mean, I love Sami Zayn. He's probably in my top 2 to 3 wrestlers in the world right now. Really just love him not only as a wrestler, but as a human being. However, Gable, how can you not love him? And I think that I was in a good position tonight as a fan. I really was going to be happy either way. But those 3 matches that Gunther and Gable had last year, all of that told me that they're going to meet again and Gable's going to win. And the fact that they are now with Sami, I just don't know. I don't know. But if anybody out there was really, really rooting hard for Chad Gable, I'm not going to say you were wrong. I was half-assed rooting for him too. He's impossible not to like. Good to see, like I said, Zach Goller. What's up, bro? Hope you're doing well. Do you think Jay and Jimmy will get some sort of stipulation at Mania? Maybe Rikishi as the special guest referee? I don't know if Rikishi's going to be able to get up and down for 3 counts. That's my problem with Rikishi being the referee. But maybe some other family influence being there. I think a lot of the family is already going to be there anyway because of what Rock and Roman Reigns are going to do. So I think anybody who is there that could get involved that would make sense. Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to have a debuting Tama Tonga or Jacob Fatu, I might debut them in this match before Roman and Cody. That way they can interfere in Roman and Cody, but I feel like it would be really hard for them to debut in Roman and Cody's match and for Cody to still win. You know what I mean? Because that kind of squashes the debut. So if you debut early, have them help Jimmy win and beat Jey Uso, and then when they make an appearance later on in night 2, it will work out better for Cody winning. But I feel like Jimmy and Jey should have something added to that match. But then again, this is going to be their first one-on-one match in what is going to be a program, and WrestleMania will not be the only time they face each other. They're going to face again. So I feel like the stip might come after Mania, but there's got to be something involved outside of just a straight one-on-one match between those 2 guys. There's too much bad blood, and there's too many personal issues there. So I feel like it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Meet in the middle somewhere there, Zach. JJ Leg, appreciate that $5. I wonder if Mania will be where they reveal the new unified men's tag team title design. Seems like the perfect place if they aren't splitting them up. Exactly, JJ. And I'm going to talk about the tag team titles later. But one of the things I saw tonight after Pearson and Aldis made that announcement is like, oh, what they're going to do is it's going to be 2 teams. They're going to each grab 1 set of belts down, and that's going to be their way of splitting up the titles. I'm like, that's fucking lame as hell. I cannot see WWE doing something that fucking dumb. But a lot of people are like calling out that finish. I just don't see it happening. And since we heard about screen testing for new tag team championship belts, a couple of different sets of them a while ago, I feel like, how are you going to hang 4 titles up there, Wouldn't that be the better place to unveil the brand new tag team championships at WrestleMania, having those 2 new titles just hanging above ringside? That's where I would debut them. That way there's only 1 set of tags, and you don't have to worry about 2 teams coming down with belts or R-Truth getting involved and taking one and throwing at one guy and taking another one down and throwing at somebody else, and then you do some weird split like that. I'd rather just have them debut the new unified men's tag team titles at WrestleMania. That's a hell of an idea, JJ. That's what I would vote for. I'm very much against this idea of having 2 teams win this ladder match. What the fuck? I think fans have watched too much Attitude Era, or too much of just WWE in the last 20 years, because I do not want that. The tag team titles feel important. They feel like main event championships from time to time. We've seen them main event not only WrestleManias, but other pay-per-views as well, and they are main event titles now, where if you have 2 sets, they're watered down. They don't mean as much. These feel like much bigger of a deal, and I think you need 1 set for the men's, 1 set for the women's, and they both float. That's the way to do it. It makes no fucking sense at all to have 2 sets of tag team titles unless your goal is just to make these things participation trophies, which is what they used to be. There used to be a time where every single fucking tag team got a run with the titles. There was even a time in the WWE where every single women's wrestler won the world title, it seemed like. There was sometimes you'd have when you had 2 women's titles, 1 champion of a brand, there would be like 5 women in the division. I'm like, so you're the champion of 5 people. Who fucking cares? And I feel like it would be that way with the tag teams too. If each brand had their own set, it's just, it's just too much. You don't need that many belts. So Greg hates the idea of splitting these tag team titles up, and I want them to remain unified permanently. We got Barry MK, my friend from Hawaii. You going to see me in July? I'm going to be there. Me and you, we got a date at Duke's. I'm going to have some sashimi, maybe a beer. I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to be there, Barry. And you're going to hang out with me and Elizabeth in a few months in Kauai. Good to see you, man. Appreciate the 5. I know you don't play games, but the men's story of WWE 2K24 starts with Roman just giving up the title after beating Cody for years. So you can do storylines in these gimmicks now, in these games? How do you do a storyline? Is it just computerized? Does it take you on the ride, or do you determine what the story is? Do you cut promos and shit? Do you attack people? Do you issue challenges? Games are weird, man. And how about, you know what I noticed tonight? I don't know how long they've been doing this, because sometimes I don't notice things for like 3 months. But again, you know, the post-Kevin Dunn era really seems to be here, because during the Kabukis and Shayna and Zoe match, when they were doing the championship introductions, that camera angle, like those 8K cameras, it was kind of like what they were doing like a year or two ago with the entrances, you know, on the ramp, where it just has that really high quality effect, whatever the fuck it's called, 8K or whatever. And now they're doing it where they're doing the announcements in the ring, announcing the participants for the championship match, and that's where they show that quality of camera. That's when they use that camera. And it really, even the crowd behind them, the whole thing looked like a video game. It looked like it was digitalizing in AI the Kabukis, and it was fucking Kabuki-ish to me. It was really weird, to be honest. So I feel like at 46 years old, by the time I get to 80 years old, there's gonna be some crazy fucking shit going on, because I think technology is just out of control, and I'm a little bit scared. But that was a very, very cool effect, which I liked it a lot. And apparently you can write storylines in video games, according to Barry MK. Man, in WrestleMania, the NES game that came out in 1988, there's only like 6 wrestlers on it that you can play as, but for some reason, the Honky Tonk Man is hard as hell. He cannot be beat. So if anybody knows how to beat Honky Tonk Man on WrestleMania, the NES game, DM me. I need to know this shit. Who else we got? Denny Downbad, did I get you? Want to hit all the channel members? Think I got them. Let's just do a quick little sweep through. Just say hello to like Crazy J, Rodrigo, Shell Shock, Ball Gum. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights is here. We got David Brown. Why do you always think my name is Gerg? I'm just kidding. What's up, David? Always happy to see you here. Brian Spencer in the house. Stephen Harris is here as well as Diego Luis. Good to see you, my friend. Jose Lopez is here. We have JL. We got 7th season. Green P. Daniel Mendiola. What's up, my friend? Good to see you as well. It's always cool when I see people in the chat that I've actually met in person. That's awesome. Cullen Butte. Good to see you. Sop in the house. Is it Kip Sop? Ram K. Michael Garcia. Kick to the gut. I got you. The new one. Vash Starwind. We've got David Sims is here. Sunny Man. Another channel member. What's up? Mohammed is in the house as well. Martin Reisner. Right on. Good. Nice little crew in here tonight. Don't forget, thumbs up button. Smash that bitch for me. All right. So let's talk about wrestling news. But before we do, big month, as you guys know, coming up on the channel. Last 2 weeks, we've had 2 really fun YouTube collaborations with the Solomonster and Brian Zayn from Wrestling with Regret. There will be no collaboration this week, but there will be one next week. So 1 week from this Friday will be when I drop the next one. It is one guest, another guy that I respect very much. We're going to be hanging out talking about another WrestleMania topic, so stay tuned for that next week. But this week, I got a couple of other things to do. I'm going to be recording 2 additional special videos to be released before WrestleMania this year in Philadelphia. And this Wednesday, 2 days from now, we're going to be here watching AEW Big Business together, the expected debut in AEW of Mercedes Moné. We also have a AEW World Title match on that show. We have Jay White and Darby Allin, which is going to be all kinds of good. That's going to be a fun show. I made arrangements to be home and off from work so I can sit here and watch this with you guys. And it's been a long time since we've done an AEW Dynamite watch along together. So we will be here this Wednesday together watching Big Business. The link to this is already up on my channel, so save it for Wednesday. Now we can get into what we're going to get into. And that is Vince McMahon. We did get some new information today on Vince McMahon, and it's long. I'm going to give you the Cliff's Notes version of this, and I strongly encourage anyone who wants to offer opinions on this, or perhaps tweet a bunch of shit about it, to read this carefully. Read it carefully, read it twice, all the way through, every word, and then give your opinions, because it's newsworthy and not kind of all the same time. So this new information on the Vince McMahon lawsuit was reported by Tim Marchman, Brandon Thurston, and John Pollock of Front Office Sports. And they reported that WWE President Nick Khan and WWE COO Brad Bloom have been revealed as corporate officer number 1 and corporate officer number 2 in the lawsuit filed by Janelle Grant against Vince McMahon and the WWE. When you read that lawsuit, which we did thoroughly a couple of months ago, you saw corporate officers number 1 through 4 listed several times, or mentioned several times in the lawsuit. We never really knew who these corporate officers were. We speculated on some names, everybody did, but nobody really knew for sure until today who these officers were. Janelle Grant's lawyer, Ann Callis, was the one who confirmed the identities of Nick Khan and Brad Bloom as Officer 1 and Officer 2. Stephanie McMahon was identified and confirmed as corporate officer number 3, while Brian Nurse, formerly general counsel and head of WWE's legal department, was identified and confirmed as corporate officer number 4. So it's important to remember here that Khan and Bloom have not been accused of sexual misconduct or violence of any kind, but the suit claims they and others facilitated and covered up exploitation in ways that make WWE liable under federal anti-trafficking law. And that's really important. It's kind of what we talked about like in terms of accountability. From a fan's perspective, we want anybody who knew about this or covered it up or, or tried to hide it or ignored it or whatever to be dealt with. But when you do that, that is also in, direct violation of anti-trafficking laws and whatnot. So there could be some consequences here, based on, what they knew. Now, there was a lot of details. If you go through this entire report today, it does list specifics, and talks a little bit about what was alleged in the lawsuit as well, but talks about specific meetings with Officer number 2 and Officer number 1 and how they most definitely were aware that Vince McMahon had a relationship with Janelle Grant that went beyond a professional one. Now, a WWE spokesperson gave the following statement today, and I quote, "WWE takes Miss Grant's allegations very seriously and has no tolerance for any physical abuse or unwanted physical contact. Neither Nick Khan nor Brad Bloom, prior to the lawsuit being filed on January 25th, were aware of any allegation by Miss Grant that she was the victim of abuse or unwanted physical contact, nor does the complaint allege that either had knowledge of such." So they are reiterating that the information that we got today is naming them in the lawsuit, but not directly implementing them in terms of having, involvement in sexual abuse and violence. This is more of they have been kind of outed as knowing about it, which I think a lot of just fans, just by pure speculation, how can Vince's inner circle, the people that are closest with him the most, be completely and totally 100% oblivious and unaware to what he is doing? It's impossible. There's no way that nobody knows what the fuck's up, especially when it comes to Nick Khan's and Stephanie's and Triple H's. They might hate it. They might hate the old man, but, it might be something that they're tolerating or whatever. They just know how he is. And that's the way it's been for years with Vince. Everybody knew he's a dirty fuck, but Vince McMahon, always tried to keep it, I guess, as legal as possible. So this is just another step in the direction of getting everybody kind of out there, getting as many names named as possible who did have involvement or who Janelle Grant had specific meetings with, because a lot of that language in the lawsuit was talking about meetings with Officer number 1 and Officer number 2. So now, with these names being identified and confirmed, obviously Nick Khan knew something. But then again, this is a guy that came into WWE and kind of inherited, this mess. He came in here. He might have not had any sort of reputation like this prior, but he never really worked with anyone quite like Vince McMahon before. And then he comes in here and maybe he's kind of half-ass aware that Vince McMahon does some pretty fucked up shit behind closed doors, but maybe it's not enough to do something about it. I don't fucking know, man. Jesus, I don't even know. I don't even know. But now that we have some names mentioned, that's good and bad in a lot of ways. Number one name that was not mentioned in any of this was Triple H. And that's comforting to know, because I was not ready and am not ready to have to hear something like that, especially when Triple H, from a product standpoint, has been very, very beneficial to WWE. The work he's doing as the head of creative, which I think some would argue that a goddamn blind raccoon could do a better job of creative than Vince McMahon. So anybody stepping in Vince McMahon's place in the stage of Vince's life that he's in currently is going to be a step up by default. But Triple H has still, I've liked his booking philosophy a lot more. Triple H is still not going to be perfect. I've said that right from the very beginning, but he is a huge breath of fresh air. And we have seen how WWE's popularity has risen since Vince McMahon has been mostly removed from that aspect of the product. So I don't want to read Triple H's name in this and anything that's, accusatory in terms of what he might have known or what he might have covered up or what he might have swept under the rug or what he might have ignored or anything like that. At least his name, for the time being, is not a part of this. So that's good news. I can't imagine reading anything like this and finding any good news at all in it. It's nothing but bad news. But I guess for right now, Triple H, in terms of his spot and position in the company, the fact that he has not yet been named in any of this lawsuit is a positive thing for him. So let's just hope it stays that way. And let's just hope that whatever Khan, Bloom, Stephanie, Nurse knew about this, that it wasn't, a full-blown cover-up, because I just don't know. When you're dealing with this stuff internally, obviously anti-trafficking laws are going to be very black and white. But when it comes to like corporate discipline and whatnot, like what if somebody overheard by the water cooler that Vince McMahon shit in some girl's hair, and then he just overheard it and didn't think about it and forgot about it by the end of the day, and then it comes up and shit, should I have said something? Am I in trouble now? Like that type of thing. I don't fucking know. Like I don't know like where the line is drawn for that. I'm glad I'm not involved in this stuff. All we can do is come up here and talk about it. But now that we have names mentioned, we will see if this begins the process, if there is going to be one at all, of any sort of cleanse in WWE or going through and removing any remnants of this Vince McMahon tumor that might still be infecting the company. This could all be part of that. I mean, even with Nick Khan being mentioned here, I still cannot imagine him leaving at this point. I mean, he's been very, very valuable to WWE. He is a very, very powerful businessman. And I feel like, without knowing anything about him, never even heard of the guy before he came into WWE, but has a hell of a reputation. And I just can't imagine anywhere, any other endeavor that he's worked, any endeavor of business where he's worked in the past, where he's come across anything quite like this. So him having to deal with Vince McMahon, it's almost like coming in and taking this position in the company. He's also assuming the risk involved with just being associated with somebody as disgusting as Vince. So, again, I don't know. You're coming into a company to help run it. The guy who's in charge, the aging owner who's going to be on his way out in a few years, is completely off his fucking rocker, and he's a dirty, perverted fucking scumbag. You know that, but you also know that his days are numbered, and it's all about a process of removing him. So it's like, do you come in? Does, Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan, they know they have a maniac on their hands, but they also know he's fucking old, and he can probably be muscled out of his company if they follow the right process and wait for things to happen. And maybe that was their intent all along. So that's what a lot of people felt like anyway. So we will see if any more information comes out, or if anything that was reported today leads to anything on a criminal or disciplinary level in WWE. We'll check on that tomorrow. But this new news, at least throughout that entire 68, 67 page lawsuit, corporate officers 1 through 4 were mentioned a lot. So now we know who they are, and we know who they're not. So it's happening. It's all happening. I think a lot's going to happen in the next year. 1 year from now, when we head into WrestleMania 41, Vince McMahon might not be watching it because he might be in jail. That's a very, very, very likely possibility. We'll see. Not a good situation either way. Speaking of situations that are not good, sad news to report today as it was announced and confirmed by CJ Perry herself, first reported, I believe, by TMZ, that Miro and CJ Perry have ended their 7 years of marriage. They've agreed to split up. Of course, they've been married since 2016, and we all remember that because they weren't together in storyline at the time. And then they announced that they were engaged, and then I think they got in trouble for it, which is fucking ridiculous. Fucking Dominic got married last weekend, and they're all getting mad. Remember Rusev got a haircut, and they they acted all pissed about it? Ugh. So, excuse me. None of this is our business, but these are two wrestling talents who are currently employed by the same company and have been on TV together, even in just recent weeks and months. Apparently, they have agreed to remain friends and end the relationship and hope to continue to work together professionally. So it doesn't sound like this was anything, too ugly. But man, when you're being divorced and even if it's mutual and it's just a sad situation where it's just not going to work out and you agree to go your separate ways, it would just be hard to still work alongside them, I would think, So Miro, it feels like he just wants out. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm gonna go to both of them and offer one or both of them the release. I mean, I know Tony Khan's got this thing about wanting people to finish out their contracts and everything, but it's not working out with Miro. He is not happy there. He's had too much start and stop, and too much momentum bullshit. And I just cannot see a situation or a scenario where he's going to re-up when his contract is up. Tony Khan's got to know that. CJ Perry as well. I think, Tony Khan is all about doing the right thing. He's been very gracious to a lot of his talent, with things that they might have need for their mental health or for their sobriety or whatnot. He's very gracious and giving in that regard. And I feel like this would be a chance for Miro and CJ, especially Miro, if he wanted a chance to get out, he could just say, Tony, look, man, I've left my wife. We've split up. I really don't want to work with her. It's painful. Can I have my release? And even can I just go back to WWE? What does it matter? And I say that to WWE a lot too, when they would hold people like Luke Harper or Mustafa Ali or even the Revival, whoever else, hostage on their contracts. When I'm like, what would it hurt if you just released them? Like, what would happen to you if you just let Luke Harper go? They took him a whole year to finally release him. Like, what if they just would have released him when he first wanted to go or when Ali first wanted to go? How would them leaving harmed the company in any way? WWE is going to just keep on rolling, man. They don't need either one of these guys to survive. So what's the fucking difference? Just to be petty at this point? So with Miro, it's the same thing. Even if he were to leave and just debut on Raw the next week, it's not going to affect AEW. You know what I mean? So it just he ain't going to be a game changer really in the grand scheme of things. WWE is fucking crazy white hot right now. And AEW is more lukewarm. Keeping him or him leaving isn't going to affect AEW day to day at all. So maybe this is a chance for, one or both of them to get out of their contracts. Like I said, specifically Miro. But in terms of that's just the professional side of things. That's just the wrestling side of things. In terms of their personal life, it's really not our business. I don't need to know why they're divorcing or what happened or if something happened or if it was a combination of things. It's between them. And I just wish them both the best because I like them both. And CJ, she's gone through a lot. Girl's got chunks of her finger taken out. She had that gnarly infection where she damn near lost a digit. And she's still recovering from that. And there has been some hinting to issues in the relationship. Miro has been a little grumpy online lately. So just wish the both of them best. I'm a massive fan of both. I really do like them both. I'm a big fan of Miro. I feel like neither WWE or AEW have been able to figure it out with him. And he's funny. He's a funny guy. He's got charisma. He's got comedic timing, and he's a badass, and he's big. I don't know what's not to like about Miro. So maybe one day, Miro can get on the map. Best of luck to the two of them as they move into the life of singlehood. We had another big name announced for the WWE Hall of Fame today. And I don't know why I thought he was already grandfathered in or celebrity winged in. Muhammad Ali has been announced to be inducted into this year's WWE Hall of Fame. He joins Paul Heyman, Bull Nakano, and the US Express as this year's class. I just can't believe they haven't stuck him in yet. We didn't do this? We didn't do it like 1994 or something like that one? They didn't get him out there on stage? I don't know why I thought this was already done. I don't know why, but Muhammad Ali actually also just passed away 8 years ago, maybe. I remember doing the video about it in my old studio apartment, but I guess he hasn't gone in yet, so he's going in this year. And I'm guessing he will have a family member there to accept on his behalf. In terms of who inducts him, shit, man. I mean, he was the guest referee at WrestleMania 1. I don't even know who's around that would induct him. Maybe The Rock. Might be The Rock. I don't know. I'm not even sure if they figured that out yet. But Muhammad Ali is definitely going into the Hall of Fame. That's pretty cool. And that's pretty much it for my wrestling news. I just wanted to mention those tidbits there. Yeah, the fact that Bruce's name has been left out of this too is pretty good for him. Yeah, I don't know why I thought that they just got him. They got him in like years ago in one of those like celebrity mass inductions that they do or something. But that's good that he's getting his own induction because, you know, he has been involved in wrestling from time to time. He faced Antonio Inoki. He faced Gorilla Monsoon as well and was a part of WrestleMania 1 and did some stuff in WCW too. So Muhammad Ali, greatest boxer of all time, going to the WWE Hall of Fame. Fine with that. All right, let's talk about Monday Night Raw. I also want to read this tweet from Sean Ross Sapp. This was before Raw began, and he says, Fightful Select has learned that AJ Francis is backstage at tonight's Raw, so Top Dollar just will not die. I'm wondering, though, since Raw was in Houston, something tells me he lives in Houston. He was just coming by there to try to get a fucking job. So I don't know if they necessarily called him, hey, come on, talk to me. He's terrible. I mean, he's just terrible. I don't really give a shit about Top Dollar at all. So I don't need him back, but if he's back there sniffing around, he gets a job, good for him. So we'll see if that materializes into anything. And tonight's Raw, like I said, was in Houston. Looked like a huge crowd there. I think 14,000, Michael Cole said. So WWE is crushing it in attendance. The show is opened with Drew McIntyre. McIntyre comes out. You knew he was going to be a little bit ornery because of the way Seth has been so preoccupied with everything going on with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and The Rock and whatnot. Last week, McIntyre claymored Seth Rollins to close the show. And this week, he was out there to start throwing shade at him immediately, calling him a junkie, calls him a spotlight junkie. You gotta have it. You gotta be involved in anything. You just had to work 2 main events, didn't you? And just starts going on and on and on about what a mistake that is. And he sounds like a jealous bitch is what he sounds like. This prompts Seth Rollins to come out to the ring, and he seems very happy, very unconcerned with Drew McIntyre. And he goes, fine, Drew, I'll give you all the attention. Like, obviously, that's what you need. You need the attention. You're a jealous little bitch. And he said, when he was listing all the things that he's concerned about and worried about, and the things that his mind is on, he said, and way, way, way down here is Drew McIntyre. And he says he's not taking him seriously because he's not really worried about him. And so he kind of delivers his monologue there. Drew McIntyre leaves the ring. And when he's leaving, that's when Seth is telling him how insignificant he is. I'm going in there against The Rock and Roman Reigns. I'm not too worried about you. You're down at the bottom, and just continues to shit on him. And you could tell it's getting to McIntyre for the first time. For the first time since like the CM Punk stuff started, somebody got to him. It's been McIntyre in the driver's seat in all of these promos. You know, I mean, that one with him and Punk was very good, that face-to-face, but still, it's been McIntyre who's been the menace. It's been McIntyre is the one frustrating others, not the one being frustrated, you know what I mean? So, at least in the promos. So, the fact that he was worked that hard, you could see the frustration on his face and getting angrier and angrier as Seth was talking to him. And then finally, he decides to charge the ring, and Seth's like, bring it. And he stops when he gets to the ring. Chooses not to attack Seth Rollins and just storms off mad. Big mad baby face. and just walk into the back. Mad Drew. Bleh. So he just walks away mad like a child. I liked that. I like that. That's the Seth Rollins I wanted to see. This is the promo, this angle, and this feud needed because Seth Rollins does have to contend with Drew, even if he doesn't take him seriously. We are. And I think this promo was good, a good reminder that Seth Rollins does have a lot going on at WrestleMania. Now, McIntyre, we got a couple of weeks till we get to WrestleMania. March 25th, 2 weeks from now, when Raw is in Chicago. CM Punk is going to be on hand for that show. They announced him tonight, so Punk will be on Raw in a couple of weeks. We'll see if he's got any more mobility in that arm. Obviously not going to be doing anything physical. Maybe he'll set something up to be at WrestleMania in some sort of an appearance, or maybe he'll do guest commentary during the world title match. Remember when Shawn Michaels lost his smile and he did commentary for Sid and Undertaker? Maybe CM Punk can do that for Rollins and McIntyre, perhaps. He's good on commentary. We know that. So he's going to be there in 2 weeks. So there's going to be some sort of an issue there. I'm sure we're going to get Rollins, Drew, and Punk maybe all in the ring together at the same time. That might be kind of cool. And in terms of what Rollins and McIntyre are going to do at WrestleMania in terms of their match, obviously this is going to be night 2, mid-card somewhere near the end. And I'm still kind of thinking that Damian Priest, this should be where he cashes in, especially if he loses the tag team titles. I'm hoping that him and Balor lose the tags, but then he wins the World Heavyweight title and Rhea Ripley retains hers. And that way Judgment Day still stays relatively strong because they can't lose the titles, Damian Priest not cash in the briefcase, and Rhea Ripley loses her title. Then they're going to show up on the Raw after Mania beltless, really having to regroup, maybe even adding another member like Andrade, which they've been teasing. So I still feel like a cash-in is very, very likely. But then again, with Priest as a character, you have to wonder about his motivation. If Priest is sitting back there with the briefcase, obviously he's got a chance to cash in on Seth Rollins, who's the champion doing double duty, but so is Cody and Roman. You got all 3 guys. You got 3 people in there. 3 out of the 4 people involved in championship matches are seemingly vulnerable and ripe. And what is Damian Priest's character gonna say? What is his excuse going to be? Remember when I kept talking about that last year? I'm like, look, so-and-so's in a compromised situation, and if Priest doesn't cash in, they need to explain why he doesn't, and they did. They had Rhea Ripley take the briefcase away from him. They had Sami Zayn coming out and stealing it, all that stuff. So here we are. We're going to find ourselves in a position, and again, where you would think that we have 3 of the 4 people in the championship matches who are ripe. Damian Priest could come in and capitalize on Seth Rollins in the McIntyre match, or he could come in later and capitalize on Roman and Cody in their match. I cannot imagine WrestleMania 40 closing with Damian Priest winning the title, interrupting Cody and Roman and winning. That just does not seem possible to me, but it does seem possible in Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. So I feel like I would do that. I would get this briefcase off of Damian Priest, cash it in. That way, that kind of leaves Drew McIntyre, out in the dust again. So I don't know. I feel like Drew actually might win the title, but I don't want Priest anywhere near that Cody and Roman match. You know what I mean? Unless he comes in, unless it's the ultimate it might be the ultimate crowning for Cody Rhodes. If he's going to lose the match on night 1. I say he gets pinned on night 1 by The Rock in the tag team match. Then he goes into night 2, Bloodline Rules. Everybody and their mother runs in this thing. It's overbooked to hell. Cody is facing all the adversity. He's all but down and out and somehow pulls off the miracle of all miracles and wins the championship. And then Damian Priest cashes in. And much like Drew McIntyre back in the Warehouse WrestleMania, had to face the Big Show right after he beat Brock Lesnar, right? Didn't he? Maybe you have Damian Priest come out as Cody's celebrating, tears in his eyes, everybody's there, and then Damian Priest's music hits, and the fans are like, no, don't fucking tell me. Don't fucking tell me they're going to do this. And then Priest cashes in, and Priest and Cody have a match right there, and Cody beats him. What's wrong with that? It's shitting on Damian Priest a little bit, but it works in my mind. So you could do that. But I feel like Drew and Seth is not going to walk out of WrestleMania as the champion. I can't see a scenario like that, especially how they're playing so much into the fact that he's volunteering himself to have Cody's back. And even Cody's not even quite sure about it. That was evident on SmackDown on Friday. And the fact that he's so willing to have everybody's back, I feel like he's going to be the one to lose out, and then he's going to feel like he's owed something. You know what I mean? If he walks out of WrestleMania beltless and Cody is champion, that's what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. I feel like Seth would say, hey, you should give me a title shot for all the shit I did for you. And then Cody can be like, I didn't ask you to do that. You volunteered. I gave you several outs. You insisted on doing it, and they can make a story out of that somehow. I still feel like I would wait longer to do Seth and Cody again, because I believe when Seth and Cody step in the ring against each other the next time, that Seth needs to win that match. But you can't do that 1 month after Cody wins the title. That's got to come way later. So maybe WrestleMania 41 would be a good place for Seth Rollins to dethrone Cody and win the title from him in Minnesota next year. Maybe. I don't know. But I feel like the storyline, the story that they're telling here, sets everything up for Cody to have a belt at the end of this thing and for Seth not to. That's my prediction. Now, whether that means Drew McIntyre's champion or Damian Priest is champion, I don't know. I just think it means that Seth Rollins will not be. So let me know how you feel about that. And that's all I got to say about that. First match of the night was Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. This was set up last week. These two ladies traded interfering in each other's matches over the past couple of weeks, so they set up this encounter here. Good match. It kind of wasn't bad. Went like 15 minutes, spanned 2 commercial breaks, one in between entrances and one mid-match. And in the end, it was Becky Lynch winning with the manhandle slam. But Liv Morgan put up a hell of a fight even after the match. Becky kind of nodded at her, a little nod of respect there. And they kind of made up sort of. And as they're showing each other respect, that's when Rhea Ripley comes out in a tank top. Just thinking about it. Hold on. Okay. So she comes out looking great, and she gets in the ring and just basically tells Becky that she's the best. And, you said you wanted to face me. You told me months ago you wanted to face me to see if you were still the best. But I got news for you. You haven't been the best in a long time. I'm the best. You don't have to look any further than the last year just to see that. And I'm going to beat the shit out of you at WrestleMania. And I kind of hope she does. But part of me wonders if Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are both going to walk out of this show beltless. They might. As of right now, I'm still rooting for Rhea Ripley to beat Becky Lynch. I hope that she does. So wasn't much to say there. She just came out and said, girl, you in for a fight. Girl, you in danger, girl, at WrestleMania. That's for sure. After that was when we got this tag team championship co-announcement from the two general managers, Adam Pearce representing Raw and Nick Aldis representing SmackDown. This looked to be a pre-tape. And this is where they announced that at WrestleMania, the Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Balor, current WWE tag team champions, will defend their titles against 5 other teams in a 6-pack ladder match. Shit. So it's going to be 3 teams from Raw, 2 teams from SmackDown, I believe. And it's going to be a ladder match, 6-pack ladder match. So you're going to be talking a 12-person ladder match. So just imagine a 12-person Money in the Bank. That's all this is going to be. There's going to be 15,000 fucking ladders out there. And you guys let me know in the chat, you statisticians out there and whoever else knows this stuff, what's the most amount of people ever in a ladder match before? I feel like this would be it, right? How are you going to put more than 12 people in a ladder match? Otherwise, it's going to be a ladder match battle royal. So I feel like 12 is about the max you can do here for a ladder match. And that has clusterfuck capabilities. That's what I'm worried about. Last year, they put together those stupid WrestleMania showcase matches, which I didn't give a fuck about until they happened. They were pretty good, especially that men's match. So maybe this ladder match, I think, is intended to have a lot of that type of fun, but they better book it carefully because that's a lot of people to organize and a lot of dudes to do shit and just make it good. Now, what made me happy about this is that last week when maybe even on Saturday on the podcast. I forgot when it was. I've talked about this recently. I was predicting that what Pierce and Aldis are probably going to do is announce a new set of tag team titles to be crowned at WrestleMania. Because Balor and Priest still have the 4 belts, which I fucking hated having all those belts around for so long. So I was thinking that maybe they would remain permanently unified and then SmackDown would just create its own championship. And when we heard a story a while back about new championship belts being tested and screen tested and shot and whatnot, I'm like, okay, cool, here we go. But you heard about 2 belts. So I'm like, oh, fuck, is that because they're going to ununify the belts again? Or is it because one's for the men and one's for the women? And the belts that the Kabukis are currently carrying are still those old original women's tag team championships, which just have so much darkness attached to them. Those are the belts that were, tossed around to every fucking woman on the roster, the belts that were meaningless, that fucking meant nothing. And when you had Sasha and Naomi walking out as they were champions, forfeiting them and vacating them, they need a facelift. They need some sort of refresh and restart. And I think a new title design for the men and the women would be perfect to do at WrestleMania. So we'll see if the Kabukis are also going to have like a multi-team thing for their belts, or if maybe they are going to put together Bianca and Jade, which they kind of maybe hinted they were going to do, but we haven't seen much direct evidence of that lately, unless they start hitting with us this Friday. If they're going to do that, it better start happening on Friday. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. But the Kabukis are probably going to have a championship match. And if they retain, then maybe they're presented with the new title belts, or maybe they save it for a Raw or SmackDown after the fact. But I would just do it all at WrestleMania. I think that would be a lot of fun if they did that. And if you had new championship belts, I liked whoever said that was a JJ in the, might have been you, might not have been you, whoever said that in the chat earlier, about debuting the new championships at WrestleMania. Otherwise, you got 4 fucking belts hanging over the ring. And as people were quickly, mentioning on social media, almost immediately after Pierce and Aldis made that announcement, everybody and their mother started having the same idea. I'm like, oh my God, what they're going to do is, so 2 people are going to rip down, one guy's going to grab the red belt and the other guy's going to grab the blue belt. And then they're just going to decide that they're permanently separated now. I'm like, am I the only one that finds that fucking lazy and lame? That is the most laziest shit ever, to ununify championship belts, to do it that way. And instead of, because in a situation like that, if that scenario were to happen, the referee's just accepting that. Well, wait, you can't have 2 winners because it's 1 championship belt. Even though 4 belts represent it, it's still technically 1 title. It's like if one person wins the, well, I guess there's been 2 belts. Everybody's got 2 fucking belts these days, but you're not going to cut the belt in half, So I feel like if they did that and then then they cut backstage and Aldis and Pierce just make a quick impromptu decision to say, okay, our guys are the Raw champs and your guys are the SmackDown champs, and let's just do that. That is stupid. That is fucking stupid. No. So I strongly reject that idea. I'm not saying they're not going to do that idea. I'm just saying it's stupid. So if it happens, don't say, Greg, you said that wasn't going to happen. No. I didn't say it wasn't going to happen. I said it was stupid. So I'm hoping that WWE does not do that. I don't feel like they're gonna, but then again, they are setting themselves up for some stupid finish like that, to where they could use that as a way to separate and ununify the championships. But no, I have cared so much more. I have not given a fuck about tag team championship wrestling in WWE in a very, very long time, just because of the 2 belts, the red belts, the blue belts, the belt swapping ceremonies, the Usos and the New Day dominant for so long. The championships, I mean, they had some wars, that Hell in the Cell match was tremendous, and they gave us great tag team wrestling, not discrediting or discounting them at all. They're Hall of Fame teams. But the fact that you had 2 tag team championships was just too much. Too many teams were champions. They weren't as important. They were watered down. The belts didn't feel special or important, and it never felt like a big deal if you win them. You know what I mean? When each brand has a belt and then they change hands, like I remember just year after year here, just right here on the channel, how many times there would just be a random tag team title change on TV. It meant nothing. You barely even batted an eye. I might not even mention it on a podcast. It was so insignificant when it happened. The SmackDown tags changed again for the 400th fucking time this year. Who cares? Now, with one set of titles that float between the shows, you have a tag team division. You have great teams spread out between the two brands. That's so much better. Sure, it might mean that less teams will get a chance to run with the titles, but that's the breaks. Back in the 80s, there was a lot of great teams as well that didn't get a run with them, like the Rougeaus and the Can-Ams and the Powers of Pain. And there's a lot of teams that probably should have been tag team champions, but never were because Killer Bees is another example, but never were because there just wasn't enough space at the top back then. So sure, that might mean that the Viking Raiders might not win the tag team titles ever again, but I think I will survive. I'll be fine if they don't. I'd rather have one set of tag team titles that floats because, as we saw last year at WrestleMania, the tag team championships main evented the show. We saw the main event. What was that pay-per-view? Was it, didn't the main event this year with like Cody and Jay winning it or something? Whatever that was. And they've been a big deal. They've been a big deal. And there's been some classic matches for the tag team titles in the past year that I've really loved. And I've loved the elevation of the championships. I've loved the fact that they feel important. As important as or more important than they have been in decades, I feel like. I mean, the tag team title scene had a little bit of a resurgence there because it shit the bed in the 90s. Fucking Bushwhackers, New Rockers, Skip and Zip, get the fuck out of here. But then it resurged a little bit in the 2000s. You got the Hardys, you got the Dudleys, you got Too Cool, you got Edge and Christian, you got DX, or the Outlaws. You had lots of teams there that really breathed new life into the tag team division, but it was still a different division. They were doing TLC matches and stuff. And I'm sorry, the Bulldogs and the Hearts and the Bees never had a TLC match. So it was different. And now I feel like it's sort of returned back to the glory days of having actual teams. Because aside from those Hardys and Dudleys and Edge and Christian, even Edge and Christian were singles. Aside from just a couple of teams, largely back in the day in WWE, the tag teams were two single stars slapped together that weren't an actual team. That was the way it was for so long. And now it feels like we have teams, we have a good, strong, healthy division, and with tag team championship belts that actually mean something, that just means the division is stronger. So in my mind, I might be speaking from a different perspective than, a fan 20 years younger than me. But in my mind, the titles are so much more valuable when there's only one set. They mean more. You care about them more. And they're more prestigious than, having two. Even if you have a lot of tag teams, I'm still just for the one. I want to see tag team wrestling not only be important, but thrive. And I think one set of tag team titles in the WWE helps that. And don't forget, you do have men's NXT tags where the women's have been officially unified. So I can live with the NXT ones. That's fine if they want to keep those around. Don't give a fuck. But in terms of the main roster, one set of tag team titles, I am adamant that that's the best way to do it. And I'm not often 100% behind one specific idea and I hammer it home up your asses as hard as I can. But I'm serious about this. No two tag team titles. Whatever you're doing at WrestleMania, WWE, it better not involve a couple of assholes pulling down a red and blue belt. It better not involve R-Truth not knowing what fucking day it is and tossing belts down to everybody, and then, oh, never mind, they're unified now or splitting the titles. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. So I, for one, was happy about the six-pack ladder match because that's going to be bonkers, and I hope it's fun. I hope it's fun and off the charts, man. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, this was crazy. I want to know what you guys thought about this because I don't even know what to think about it. So Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell are taking on Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree, right? Now, we all saw, it was last week or whatever, Maxine was filmed or videoed at a house show as she was leaving the ring, apparently after a not-so-great performance. There was like a few fans giving her shit, boo, you suck, get the fuck out of here, or whatever. And I saw that, and I'm like, okay, Maxine is just impossible to not like. I love her energy. She seems like she tries real hard, seems like a real sweetheart. The girls love her. We've heard nothing but good things about her in terms of her, enthusiasm, her dedication, and the job that she's doing. But she's green as turtle shit, man. And they brought her to the main roster way too early, and you can see some of that coming out. Now, she also shows promise. She can be athletic. She's got a great look. Very, very few looks are better than hers. That reverse worm that she does is pretty good. She's been, associated with Chad Gable, who's, working on her in-ring moves with her, at least on camera and whatnot. So it felt like we were kind of enjoying, so to speak, watching her improve gradually. But, at the end of the day, she's still very, very inexperienced. And, a couple of these performances at house shows have gotten her some heat or gotten her some boos. But my main thing is when I saw that video and I saw like the people giving her shit, I wanted to click on it because I wanted to hear like what they were saying, because, if they're just being assholes or, they're saying something, sexist or fucking horrific, it was just, no, boo, you suck. So, I'm sorry. Wrestling fans, I'm sure that guy that was doing that was a dick, but he does have every right to do that. He wasn't overstepping any boundaries, basically, was my point. I wanted to see the video to see if they were overstepping, seeing if they were using some fucking harsh language or calling her a fucking libtard or something. I don't know, shit that assholes say, So I didn't hear any of that. All I heard was, boo, you suck. I'm like, okay, well, she needs to, even though we all love Maxine, you are signing up to be a pro wrestler, and you have to know that wrestling fans, more than anybody else, are probably the most ruthless out there, and they don't give a shit because most of them have shitty lives, so they don't care about anybody else. So they're going to say horrible shit to you, horrible stuff to you, and it would blow my mind that Maxine would not be aware of this. And it wasn't even really her complaining. This was a fan, posting the video, and then people kind of rushed to her defense. Well, we talked about that last week, and I kind of blew it off. I'm like, that's a non-issue. It's a non-story to me because a couple of fans booed at her? Who fucking gives a fuck? Did they run? Did they jump the barricade and tackle her? Did they call her a fucking twat bitch or something like that? Then I might care a little bit more. But, it was more just like, boo, you suck. And I didn't see what the big deal was. Well, now it looks like they attempted here in some way, I don't know how, to make this into like a storyline or an angle. So it's Candice and Indy against Maxine and Ivy Nile. And Maxine is now tagged in. She's got Indy Hartwell down, 2 tall drinks of water. And she's got Indy down, and she's going to do the reverse worm thing, which is awesome. She does it really good, really well. I enjoy watching it. I don't complain when she does it. So she starts going for it. And then Candice LeRae steps in the ring, gets in and stands in the way of her finishing the move on Indy. Now, last week they were kind of teasing Candice being a little bitchy too, so I feel like they're kind of in the process here of turning her heel. That seems obvious. So she steps in, stops Maxine from executing the worm thing, and then it just got awkward. I understood what they were trying to do here, and I think even talking about this in a creative meeting on paper might not even sound that bad. But this execution was all kinds of awkward. And she stands in front of her, and then Maxine turns around, and then Candice just starts like chewing her out. Like, what are you doing? You're not going to do that to her. You're not going to hit that move on her. This is why everybody boos you. This is why everybody hates you. And Candice starts Maxine starts backing up and then starts like crying. And as Candice is like berating poor Maxine, this is why people boo you. This is why everybody talks shit about you. And if you think that's bad, you should hear what all the women in the back say about you. Now Maxine's starting to cry. And then she's just like, forget it. I don't need this. And just like storms out of the ring and leaves the ring angry. And that's pretty much, I guess how did the match even finish after that? I didn't even write down the finish because I was so focused on that. But it was not executed well at all. Like Candice did not come off. She came off obviously like an asshole, but just an awkward kind of one. Like, this is a wrestling match. So what I didn't understand about Maxine, I'm trying to make this make sense. If that's the biggest mistake. Don't try to make it make sense. It's better if you just leave it alone, but sometimes I try to do that. So from my perspective, Maxine, that's her opponent that just got in the ring and is like getting her. It's not like it's a backstage interview segment. It's not like they're in the locker room. They're not at the Slammy Awards. You're in the ring in a match that's ongoing. And if your opponent is in your face chewing you out, you're 6 inches taller than said opponent. Why are you not choke slamming her through the steps? Even if you are inexperienced or lack confidence or whatever, the fact that Maxine chose crying over choke slam on the steps is really weird to me. So I didn't really like that. I guess, it's designed to get sympathy for Maxine. I get that, but she seems weak. She seems weak. I would rather do a segment like this if they were trying to do something that made the fans feel bad. Oh, Maxine. I would do it backstage or in an in-ring segment that maybe is not a match, or if it is a match, don't do it the way they did it, have it happen on the outside of the ring, not right there in the middle. And it just didn't, it exposes them for being terrible actors is what it does. I felt like it would have been better if maybe this confrontation was happening outside the ring and one of the ring cameramen, floor cameramen caught it. And then, Maxine shows emotion or storms off. But the fact that she was in the ring and basically just stormed out of a match crying, not because she was hurt, not because she lost a match or her opponent was getting the better of her, but because someone yelled at her. It felt... Tell me if I'm crazy. Nah, Greg, you're taking it wasn't a big deal. I got it. I thought Candace did a great job. I thought it told a great story. Let me know if you feel that way, because I just did not feel that way. It just came off weird. So I feel like creatively, them coming up with this idea, I could see how they would think it might work and how they would think it might be good, because I could see that maybe I'm lowering myself here a little bit. I could see how that might be a good way to get Candace over as a heel or to turn her heel, if that's what your intent here is, but not off to a good start. I think there's plenty of time for them to find their footing and get it right and make it work. I'm not giving up on it. I'm just saying bad start, really bad start. And Candace just was not believable in my mind as being that vicious. Yes, she was saying horrible things. It just didn't feel real. It didn't, you didn't feel the energy or the passion or the emotion, because obviously she's yelling at her real life friend here, but there was no intensity or whatnot. And it just felt like just typical catty women shit or whatever. But, Maxine storming off crying, it was like Mean Girls or something. And I'm like, that's weird. I don't know. I just did not like it at all. I thought that whole segment was terrible, cringe, embarrassing, and just not good. Just not good. After that, we had JD McDonough. I'm sorry, not JD McDonough. I don't like writing down Judgment Day, and I also don't like writing down JD McDonough. So I just write JD for both of them, and sometimes I forget which one I'm talking about. In this case, I'm talking about the entire faction. They interrupt Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, who are just casually chatting about their big announcement for the tag team titles. And that's when Judgment Day arrives. Now, they, of course, have just heard this announcement. They're pretty pissed about that. Now we got to go in there against 5 other teams. That's horseshit. And they wanted the Miz and R-Truth. They kind of changed their focus to Miz and R-Truth. And Adam Pearce says, well, you can't have Miz and R-Truth tonight because they're both off doing promotional material for the company. And then in walks R-Truth. And Adam Pearce like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be doing your promotional material. And he goes, yeah, that's on Monday. And he goes, today is Monday. So another misunderstanding for R-Truth. Or I guess he's supposed to do media, not promotional material, media stuff, media appearances and stuff for the company. So Priest then just tells Adam Pearce to make the match. So he's going to book Damian Priest, a very angry Damian Priest, against R-Truth later on in the night. And then we get our sit down with Cody Rhodes, an in-ring sit down with Cody Rhodes. Now, when I saw he was advertised for a sit down, I thought this was a pre-tape. I thought this was one of those Sami Zayn sit downs in the empty arena. That thing is what I thought they were going to do. Or maybe the dark studio setting that they also like to do. I thought it was going to be something like that. So the fact that Cole was in the ring to announce Cody, I'm like, oh, cool. So out comes Cody, all in powder blue. And he sits down with Michael Cole. And it's so weird how if he would have done this shit in AEW, I would have hated it. But somehow, since Cody has come into WWE, I don't know what it is, what this intangible is that has made me instantly a fan of his and instantly care about him and like to see him and want to see him succeed. And he is a white meat, crying, bitch ass babyface that I love for some reason. And I can't explain it. Normally, Cody's character is not the type that I gravitate towards first, but I do really, really like him. And even when he is beyond ridiculous in his emotions, he doesn't annoy you the way Ric Flair does with this. And he kind of got into it here again. Michael Cole was, very nice and very gracious in his introduction. And Cody now says that, the story is expanded way beyond him and just Roman and Roman's championship belt. It's now about everyone. It's about the fans, and it's about his family. It's about the Roman's family. Now The Rock is involved. And Cody starts talking about and bringing up specific examples of people like that. And he talks about a blind fan that was disappointed last year at WrestleMania. Same goes for a close friend that just underwent spinal surgery. And then talked about his mom and immediately started crying about his mom because he wants to finish his story. He wants to win the championship. And unfortunately, his dad is not here for him to hand the belt to, but his mother is. And she's all I've got. And, really got emotional about that. And then also really put over his wife, Brandy, who got together with him when he was wearing the face mask and, was kind of directionless in his career, and how she is his biggest fan. And, a lot of that makes you want to kind of like roll your eyes of like, oh God, barf, so fucking cringe. But you know what? Greg loved it. I love Cody. I want so badly for him to cry like a baby, to bawl his eyes out in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania 40 and cry there and have that moment, that personal moment that he's probably feeling with his dad, and to go all through that. I've never wanted something so sappy in my life. I want that for Cody. I really, really like Cody. And I think he's going to do it. This whole thing felt like them telling you, how can they not put the belt on him now? And Cody says, he tells Michael Cole that you are going to announce for the first time in company history that a Rhodes is undisputed champion. And that's when he vowed and he pointed to the WrestleMania sign to finish his story. And I think he's gonna. I mean, Michael Cole brought up about perhaps failing. And Cody even said, he goes, I went through that already. There is no, I'll just get him next year. I'm doing that right now. That's what I've been in the middle of doing for the past 365 days, is coming off that loss, regrouping, and setting myself up to do it again. And now so much has changed from last year to this year. And last year when he lost at WrestleMania, and we started speculating as fans that, they could do it again at WrestleMania 40. I don't think any of us really envisioned a scenario quite like what we're looking at here at WrestleMania 40 with this double main event thing, double duty for all these guys, and the tag match first. And now what's probably going to, at least I hope, is going to be a Bloodline Rules at WrestleMania. I think the best story to do there is something like what they did at WrestleMania 10 when Owen Hart beat Bret Hart, and then he went on to win the championship in the main event. I think you do the same thing with Cody. I feel like it's Rock pinning Cody. That's the best way for future storyline. You could have Roman pin Cody, but Rock pinning Cody would make the most sense and be the best if you're going to have Cody win on night 2, because then afterwards, Rock can be like, I beat Cody. You lost to him. I'm the head of the table now. And then boom, you got your Rock and Roman Reigns match, and you don't even have to have a title on the line to do that head of the table shit, because Cody's got it. So I feel like Cody losing on night 1 in the tag match, being pinned by The Rock, is the best way to balance it out. Then on night 2, if Seth Rollins loses his title, at least he wasn't also the one taking the pin on night 2. So Cody took a loss, Seth took a loss, Cody just got his moment in the end. And then you've got kind of a pre-existing or pre-made story there for Rock and Roman Reigns whenever they want to complete that head of the table match, which I think could probably even happen in Saudi Arabia. Because if WrestleMania is going to be in Minneapolis next year, which it's sounding very likely, we talked about that on Saturday on the podcast, then I don't see, well, I wouldn't want to say I don't see, but I feel like maybe you don't do Rock and Roman at 41 because I feel like that's like a Vegas or a Miami market, or something like Saudi Arabia, who does shell out the big bucks for big money matches, or they have been in recent years. So that's the way I feel like all of that should go. But based on Cody's interview here, how are they not going to have him win? You know, I mean, it's going to piss me off. Last year, I tolerated it. I did. I walked out of I was there at SoFi, and we walked out a little bummed. I'm not going to lie, but I wasn't maybe as upset as other people, but I was definitely kind of wanting to see Cody have his moment. But even last year, I was tolerant of it because I don't fly off the rails. I can manage my emotions. When I really thought about it, I'm like, you know, Cody was gone all year. He just came back to the company, was there 2 months, got injured, and then was gone for 8. Comes back, wins the Rumble at number 30, and then gets the title shot, and he's going to win the championship. You know, so when he lost, and I'm like, okay, we'll see how this next year goes. Even though I think it would have been fine if he would have won at WrestleMania 39. The fans who argued that he needed adversity, he sure as fuck got that adversity now, didn't he? He got it all year, and he's about to get a fuck ton of it at WrestleMania itself. So this year, I'm not going to be able to tolerate it. Well, it sounds stupid, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to be able to have the tolerance that I had last year. After 39, when I really thought it through, and I still believe it was kind of the wrong decision, but I can understand fans who think that it was okay. I can see your point. I won't be able to see your point this time. There's not going to be an argument that's going to be able to be made to me that would make sense for Cody not to win it at this WrestleMania. You're setting everything up. You got the moment. This is what you've done at these WrestleManias, even Brett, Benoit, Bryan. That's what they do. So Cody has to be the guy. And if they do some fucking finish again, if they do the exact same thing and it's the Samoan spike and it's a spear 1, 2, 3 in the Bloodline rules match, then you're going to have a lot of fucking pissed off fans. You're going to have a lot of fans that are going to have that feeling about WWE that we used to have about them when it really felt like they trolled us on purpose. They purposely wanted to mess with us. And I feel like they would be doing that. I feel like this would be Triple H's, that pettiness that can still exist in him. And I know it's still there, coming out and just not wanting to, for whatever reason, whether it's a personal issue that he's not revealing that he has with Cody, he's still butthurt about the sledgehammer thing in AEW or the throne thing or whatever. Who knows? But if they were to do that, I would really start wondering what the fuck they were smoking back there, because they're setting it all up. They're setting it up. And like I said, predictable was my biggest concern all year. I said that like the next day after WrestleMania 39 last year. I said, if they do it next year, it's going to be predictable as all hell. It's still kind of predictable. Like I'm predicting right now early here, a full month ahead of time, that Cody's going to win the championship this year. But look at how they've set it up. Boy, have they given Cody one fucking crazy obstacle course to get through first, to where it's not just the match. Cody Roman, ding, 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 match in the middle, Cody wins. You've got now The Rock involved. You got that tag match on night 1 with stakes for night 2. And then on night 2, it's going to be Bloodline rules, and everybody and their fucking mother is going to run out there, and they're probably going to scare you and freak you out several different times in that match that Cody's going to get pinned, and the near falls and the booking that we're going to see in that match is going to make it so fun. And I think WWE is going to go into this match that many fans are feeling is somewhat predictable with Cody winning the title and take you on a ride that makes you forget all about that predictability. That is what their goal needs to be. And I think that is what their goal is. And I think that's what we're going to get. I really think we're going to get a crazy fucking main event on night 2. And it's going to be, when you think about the 40th WrestleMania, that's what the main event of the 40th WrestleMania should be. The main event of the 40th WrestleMania should be a love letter to professional wrestling. And that's why I think it needs to be really crazy. I think it needs to be good versus evil, but also implement and involve so many things that make pro wrestling fun and make it great and made us attracted to it in the first place. Run-ins, debuts, swerves, near falls, great wrestling, drama, story, emotion, all of that needs to come out in Cody and Roman Reigns. And if Cody and Roman is Bloodline rules and you have all of this stuff and you got the biggest movie star in the world involved in this thing, and who knows who else they could add to this to really make it fun. And I'm saying, like, overbook this shit out of this. Make it a Dusty and an Ole and an Attitude Era finish all rolled into one big super baby. I mean, just make it crazy. I want Cody's mom hitting a shooting star press on Roman Reigns after she hits him in the face with a tuna casserole. I want Cody's kid to put the figure 4 leg lock on Solo Sikoa. I want at least one wrestler coming back from the dead. I want complete and total, utter chaos in this match. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping we get. And when the dust settles and everything's done and Cody wins this match after umpteen near falls and God knows how many false finishes, and by some miracle, he pulls off an amazing victory facing all of that adversity, the uphill battle of a lifetime, winning the championship, celebrating the pyro, Brandy, his kid, his mom. He's crying. He's looking up at Dusty. That's what you do at WrestleMania 40. That's my pitch. That's my pitch. So Cody's sit down tonight with Michael Cole told me that that's what they're going to do. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right. Oh my God. What's next? Okay. We go backstage to Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. And they are about to make up, play nice. Sorry, I fucked you over. Sorry, I fucked you over. Good match. But before they can really shake hands, Nia Jax Pearl Harbors him and attacks Liv Morgan and then puts Becky Lynch through a table. And then Becky demanded a match with Nia Jax next week. And I forgot to write down the stip. Is it Last Woman Standing? I think it's Last Woman Standing next week. Nia Jax versus Becky Lynch. So that will be where Becky finally gets that win back. And I like that if I'm right about that match stipulation, which I hope I'm not wrong, because if I'm right about it and it is Last Woman Standing, that means Nia doesn't have to be pinned. And she can kind of somewhat stay strong in that respect. That's a good stipulation to book for someone like Nia, who's been pretty dominant, and she's going to have to eat a loss here, but a loss like that without being pinned is probably a better way to do it. After that, we had the women's tag team titles on the line. No real danger here for the Kabukis, which is crazy because Zoe and Shayna are both, kick-ass women's wrestlers. And Shayna and Kyrie had some wars back in the day as well. But I was not too concerned about this one. I knew my Kabukis would win. I love them. I fucking love them so much. And like I said earlier, I love that crazy new championship intro now they have where they introduce the wrestlers and it kind of looks like a video game behind them. It's that, that 8K camera or whatever. So I think it was Shayna. Was it Shayna who ate the Kyrie elbow? They kind of did like a demolition type of move there with Kyrie coming down on the elbow and pinning. I think it was Shayna to retain the titles. And Damage Control continues to roll. So I feel like, I don't know if they're all going to lose their titles at WrestleMania. If the Kabuki Warriors are going to defend their titles and Io Sky loses hers, I feel like Kabuki's might have to retain unless they are going to do that match with Bianca and Jade. We will see. If they are going to do that, I feel like our last chance to really plant a firm seed about that would be this week on SmackDown. Otherwise, you're talking just 2 or 3 weeks until WrestleMania. And if you haven't even begun the build to the match, it doesn't even leave you much time. So I feel like on SmackDown this week, if that match is going to happen, that's where they need to get the ball rolling with it. We'll see. So then we go backstage to Judgment Day, and they're back there kind of chatting it up with Andrade. Now, there was no Dominic visible here. He is off on his honeymoon. Congratulations to Dominic. We love you. And he is off doing his thing. So it's a Dominic-less Judgment Day this week, and they are there with Andrade. He's talking a little bit to Rhea Ripley. Hey, I'm a businessman. Rhea Ripley's, we're business people, and maybe we can do some business together down the line. Dominic already kind of seemed to speak up and vouch for Andrade, and Andrade kind of nods and walks away. And then Finn Balor is like, hey, I go way back with that guy. He's the real deal. He could bring a lot to the table. I agree with Dominic. And then Rhea's like, okay, we'll discuss it or whatnot. So they're talking about maybe involving Andrade into the group here, but I don't know if they really want to expand this faction. The Judgment Day doesn't seem like a faction for him, although it kind of does. He's got a darker kind of gimmick to him, and I like the mask sometimes, so maybe it could work out there. But I feel like if he did enter and join the Judgment Day, there's already enough of a power struggle there going on as it is with Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest. So adding Andrade to that, you could have some Priest and Andrade issues if maybe they want to replace Priest with Andrade. I think that would be a bad idea. I think Priest is a good talker. But Andrade coming in, we'll see how that goes. But I am glad that they are involving him in something because Judgment Day is, aside from the Bloodline, is the top faction in the company. So Andrade being involved with them and not just out there floundering, it's kind of like what AEW did this week or this past week with Okada. They didn't just bring him in and have matches. No, they turned him heel. He's doing shit in an angle right off the bat. So having Andrade being involved with Judgment Day, kind of the same thing. I'd rather have him do that than just come out there and have matches against people and no direction or whatever. That's what he was doing in AEW. So we'll see what that leads to, and I'm guessing Dom will be back next week. After that, we get Damian Priest against R-Truth. So poor R-Truth. He's out there doing all of John Cena's moves, which is interesting. It's making me wonder if John Cena... Oh, I got to talk about John Cena, don't I? Remind me to talk about Cena so I don't forget. Let me write it down on the bottom of my notes here. Cena, Rock, Oscars. I do not want to forget about that. So R-Truth is doing Cena's moves, and it makes me wonder if John Cena is going to be involved in WrestleMania, and I really hope that he is. WrestleMania 40, even if it's not wrestling, how can John Cena not be at a milestone show like this? So I feel like he's got to be there. And with all this shit that R-Truth is doing, he's doing John Cena's moves, the AA and the STFU, and he almost has Priest beat a couple of times there with Cena's moves. The DIY's out there backing up R-Truth since The Miz is actually doing his job, his media job right now. And then at one point, DIY's out there with the rest of Judgment Day, and R-Truth does a big top rope dive to the floor. And when he comes back, that's when Damian Priest is then recovered from all of John Cena's moves, hits the choke slam on R-Truth and gets the win and puts him down pretty hard. So if John Cena is going to be involved at WrestleMania in any way, teaming up with R-Truth might be fun. What if John Cena and R-Truth are in the ladder match or something? But Truth and Miz are probably going to be in the ladder match. But I really hope John Cena is involved in some way. I mean, I don't know how he could even be involved with this match. Wouldn't make any sense for Cena to even be out there for that, even if he was a special guest referee, but he wouldn't be for a ladder match or maybe on commentary. I don't know, but I hope John Cena has some sort of a presence that's fun at WrestleMania. I really, really, really want him there. He needs to be there. Jey Uso was up next. They showed him on camera walking from the backstage area to the ring with his Yeet glasses. And so when I saw that, they said, Jey Uso is coming out to the ring next. And then they went to commercial. So I wrote in my notes, Jey Uso promo officially challenges Jimmy Uso to match at WrestleMania. And then I went to the bathroom and I came back. Jay's in the ring. And what I like about this is that he did not have a 10-minute promo. He got on the mic and just instantly said, why don't we face at WrestleMania? Because Jimmy has cost him a couple of matches lately, so I thought we were going to have to hear about all that first. First, you cost me this match. Then you cost me that match. And when we were kids, you were a dick. And then you took away my He-Man toy, and then you stuck it up the dog's ass, and it always smelled bad. I don't know. He could just talk about anything. And then finally proposed the match at WrestleMania. But I think this whole thing was about a minute and a half long max. He just got right on the mic. Let's do this. Brother against brother at WrestleMania. And he said he's going to knock the yeet out of his ass, out of Jimmy's ass. It's Jimmy's ass that's going to be losing its yeet. So when Jay hits him, the intent is for the yeet to fly out of the ass of Jimmy, I think is what Jay is trying to say here. Hopefully that works out for him. So it's going to be Jimmy now at WrestleMania. That will be official. We should get some fun promos between these two guys in the ring, I would think, on TV. And I know somebody in the chat mentioned that maybe there could be a stip here, but I feel like Jay and Jimmy are about to start a minimum of a 3-match program. So I feel like the stip will come later. And I also feel like Jimmy Uso might win this match, not Jay, because it you got to have some bloodline wins if they're going to lose their championship. So a night one win. Well, maybe not. I feel like Jey Uso should beat Jimmy. Never mind. What am I talking about? Jey Uso is going to beat Jimmy. I think the only bloodline member to get a win at WrestleMania is going to be The Rock. That's the story to tell. Rock's going to pin Cody. So technically Roman will win that match because he's on the team. Rock's going to be the only member of the bloodline to pin someone at the show. I feel like that's what they're going to that's what they should tell. That way, when WrestleMania is over, it's you motherfuckers lost except for me. So that's perfect. It's perfect. So I feel like Jey probably will win. I really liked the Gunther interview backstage ahead of the Gauntlet match main event. Gunther was interviewed by Jackie, and she says something to the effect of, Gunther, many say that you're overconfident in your last few months of your run. And he's like, who the fuck said that? I don't care. I just it instantly blew it off. And it was the dumbest thing for her to say too. Like, how do some feel like you're overconfident? Who's saying that? Who the fuck said that? And she's like, well, no, just, discussion among the WWE universe. Who said that? Who said it? It was so funny to me. It was so simple and direct. Like, it was kind of like, oh yeah, how you know? And from Andrade. It was like the same type of thing, which I love that. Who the fuck said that? That's ridiculous. I don't even fucking care. I don't care what they said. I'm focused on my reign. He completely blew it off just the way I would. So I appreciate that from Gunther. Hey, he can retain at Mania and I wouldn't even care. I think fans would complain because that's what they do. It's too long. I can hear, God, I can already fucking hear them. It hasn't even happened yet. I can already hear them. If Gunther does retain at WrestleMania, I'm planting my flag right now and saying I'm not going to complain about it. I won't. I'm perfectly fine with him continuing his run, but I'm a huge Sami fan, and I really want it for Sami. So that brings us to our Gauntlet match. Good stuff here. They gave this match about 40 or 45 minutes, I think. It was a long one. Started out with JD McDonough, the little big head fucker, taking on Ricochet. So we knew JD was not going to be the one going to WrestleMania to face Gunther. Ricochet made quick work of him with a shooting star press for the win, and that brought out Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed and Ricochet have their little match. Reed winds up hitting the tsunami on Ricochet to advance, and Ricochet is out. Then came Sami Zayn. So Sami Zayn was out next. It's him and Bronson Reed. Good little match here between them. Crazy finish. Bronson's got Sami up on the second rope in like Samoan drop position. And Sami then counters that into like a sunset flip power bomb type of move and is able to pin Bronson Reed and advance. But after the match, as Shinsuke Nakamura, who is the next person out, is making his way to the ring, Bronson Reed attacks Sami Zayn and furthers the damage, injuring him some more, and hits him with the tsunami. So now when I saw that, and I'm like, fuck, it's going to come down to Sami and Gable. Gable's a baby face. So I feel like for them to do the deal where Reed post-match attacks Sami, that means Sami's going to win. I feel like a heel would beat him and take advantage of that, if he was going to lose. But Gable, being the one. So I thought maybe it was going to be Nakamura beating him and then Gable beating Nakamura. I felt like that was either a way to set up Sami losing right there, or he's just going to win the thing. So I guess I thought maybe Nakamura could beat him, but he didn't. Sami Zayn was able to fight off Nakamura, injured the whole time. Nakamura's dominating him, but then he scores some sort of a quick roll-up on Nakamura, and then he advances. So now it's a Sami Zayn beaten up, had 2 matches, 2 victories, and a post-match beatdown. And then out comes Chad Gable, a wrestler that everybody likes and respects. No, this is a spot for a heel to come out and win this. So I felt like Sami Zayn was probably going to win at this point. And him and Chad Gable had a good one. Gable was busted open in his mouth. Very intense match, and had Sami down a couple of times, beaten with the ankle lock. But as somebody pointed out in the chat, like, he never grapevine the leg or anything. So Sami Zayn was able to survive most of the onslaught, and in the end was able to roll up and get a roll-up pin on Chad Gable as well, and fought through a lot there to win the match in a really, really fun main event that you knew was going to come down to 2 guys. And I think WWE did the right thing having those 2 guys finish it. That's who you needed. When you look at that graphic today, when I was looking at the match graphic, I'm like, it's Sami or Gable. anybody else winning is going to piss me off and probably piss a lot of you guys off too. It's got to be Sami or Gable. So the right thing to do is to put them both against each other and let the fans decide and let the fans cheer for who they want, because some of you were cheering for Gable. I was cheering mostly for Sami, but kind of for both. And in the end, it turned out to be Sami Zayn, and now he will face Gunther. I think that's a pretty good looking match. If you can't do Gunther and Brock and you're not doing some other crazy Gunther match, then maybe Sami Zayn is the best person to put him in there with. And be 3 really successful WrestleManias. I mean, Sami did that match with Johnny Knoxville, which I think really turned the tables for him. And then 1 year later, he's main eventing, winning the titles with his best friend. And now he's got another chance to earn a big accolade and a big feather in his cap if he's the one that unseats Gunther's 640 plus odd day run, whatever he's on now. He's 200 days past Honky Tonk Man's record. It's fucking crazy. So that should be fun. Speaking of Intercontinental title contenders for Gunther, I don't know the context of this, but I did see that Sheamus has deleted his social media, or at least his Twitter account. Don't really know what that means. I don't know if it was, if he got into a argument or a battle with somebody and then the haters came after him, or if there's something going on with his WWE contract or deal, or his creative, or his frustrations. He's been pretty vocal about that in the past. I don't know what's going on there. What did this reply to me say? Chad Gable's shoulders appeared to have no contact with the mat during the 3 count. Really? Well, I don't know about that. Did you guys see any of this? Did you notice that on the replay of Monday Night Raw? We did mention, I mean, I thought one of the things they could possibly do tonight, I mentioned that at the very beginning, was some sort of a double finish to where it's Gunther, Gable, and Sami. But I feel like Gunther losing that title should be one-on-one unless they really want to protect him. That would be the only reason, because I feel like when you've established and built a long run up like that, the moment you get from somebody beating you one-on-one for the belt is like a huge moment you want to have. You want to give that to somebody. And I just don't feel like in a triple threat environment, even if you did pin Gunther, I'm sure it could still be good, but I think just the traditionalist in me would prefer one-on-one. The only way that would really make sense is if WWE says in their head, okay, we want to establish Gunther, since he's not going to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania like originally planned, and he's not going to get that big victory. We still want to establish him as tough and as important as Brock Lesnar. So we're going to take the Intercontinental title off of him without beating him. And then you do the triple threat at Mania, and then Sami beats Gable or something like that. And Gunther's no longer champion, and then maybe he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going after the big belt anyway. You guys have fun with that. I'm a champion who never lost that title. And maybe that's what they do. Shit, I don't know. But I feel like you're robbing yourself of a moment. You're robbing the fans of a moment if you have somebody like a Sami Zayn beat Gunther for the championship. I thought, too, you could do like a callback or a tribute to the Warrior and Honky match, where Gunther could essentially just do the same thing. He could come out and say, I've beaten every fucker here. I've been champion for, since the Reagan administration. So if anybody in the back wants to come even try me, bring it. And then out comes like a roster debuting Braun Breaker, who just runs out there a million miles an hour, Ultimate Warrior style, and beats Gunther quickly for the championship in like just a matter of seconds. No, don't do that to Gunther. It'll kill him. No, it won't. No, it won't. No, it won't. No, it won't. It won't. Look at what Goldberg did to Brock. Did that kill him? No. Brock was only stronger coming out of that. So, no, that would be Gunther's completely off guard. No idea who his opponent was going to be. Had no idea it was going to be him. No time to prepare. The guy came out like a speeding fucking train and plowed him over. He wasn't ready. He will be ready next time. That would be a match that would be perfectly fine. And it would be a little nod to how Warrior dropped the belt. But I feel like Sami beating him is even sweeter. And it would be a great moment for Sami, especially if he puts him down clean, no Imperium or whatnot, and he just beats Gunther and he gets that win. Gunther is even the type of heel that I feel like would shake Sami's hand. I do. If Sami beats him clean for that title, I feel like Gunther shakes his hand. That's my prediction. Because that would be a hell of an endorsement. And I feel like even though Gunther is a heel, he's a strong enough of a character. He's a big enough man to where he would have no problem admitting defeat. He wouldn't come out there like Hogan in 96 and pretend the match never happened. I admit it. I get defeated by Sami Zayn. I wish I could do these guys' accents. I wish I was better at it. I'm sorry. Wish I was more of an entertainer for you. But I would do that. I would have Sami beat him and Gunther shake his hand. And then Gunther's off to the fucking races to be world champion sometime this year. Gunther and Swerve Strickland. Keep a lookout for those dudes. Before we get into some other funny stuff, let me answer some super chats. Who we got? Juliet, are you at it again? Juliet is gifting a Good Micro Commentaries membership to Smitty. Right on. Thank you, as always, for that, Juliet. You and Nicole are always in here dropping memberships on people. Y'all are the best. Stone Cold 10X has got 5 for us. Appreciate that. In my opinion, the injury was the adversity, so he could have won at 39. Okay. Sure. Yeah, I get that. It counts as adversity, but that wasn't adversity that we were directly seeing. Cody was off TV. So, yeah, he had the injury to work towards. And again, I was there, man. I wanted to see it. I would have been very happy to have footage of Cody winning the title last year. I'm just saying, I think once I thought it through, I was like, okay, I can tolerate it. I'm still a little bummed out, but I suppose some part of me can see how it might even have a chance to be better next year. But I also admitted that it could be ruined and spoiled by then too. But they've kept it up. Everybody wants to see it. That's what they're going to do. Reunite the Dudleys to give The Rock the 3D. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything too crazy here in the chat. So John Cena and The Rock, there's a lot of WWE and Bad Bunny. We're all present at the Oscars last night. I didn't watch one single second of the Oscars. I've only seen 2 clips at all, and it's only been of The Rock and John Cena. So I don't watch the Oscars. I don't watch the Grammys. I never watch any of that shit. So I wouldn't have known about it unless you guys told me. So last night we're watching WrestleMania 5. By the way, thank you to everybody who was here for the watch along last night. And you guys were telling me that Cena was naked on the Oscars, so I had to check this out. So I watched the clip, and he came out there in the little thing and the card, and that was really, really funny. And it made me wonder about Ricky Stenicki, because I've been hearing about Ricky Stenicki. I learned about it because I saw on the wrestling news sites that John Cena started an OnlyFans account. I'm like, what the fuck? And apparently that's to promote his movie. I have not even seen a trailer for this movie. I know nothing about this movie, or I knew nothing about this movie up until 3 hours ago when I finally Googled the trailer, or searched the trailer on YouTube, found it, watched it, laughed my ass off, and me and Elizabeth are watching that tonight as soon as we are done with this stream here. I am watching Ricky Stenicki. That looks hilarious. I love John Cena. He's fucking great. So he was there, and it made me think of all that, and I thought that was awesome that Cena was at the Oscars. Granted, a lot of people are saying, oh, he's being initiated or some Illuminati shit. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. I thought it was great. I thought it was super funny. No big deal. He came out there naked to read an award or whatever. It was entertaining. It was funny. And John Cena is a pretty entertaining guy. The Rock did not have to be naked. He was able to wear clothes. So that was kind of cool. And he presented an award with Bad Bunny. So WWE, even at the Oscars, you can't escape them. So that was all really fun. And I'm looking forward to catching Ricky Stenicki tonight. We also have to watch the Scott Hall A&E biography. I've not watched that yet. But I did watch the Sergeant Slaughter one last week, and whatever the Rivals one was, watched those and caught up to date on those. And I forgot what this week's Dark Side of the Ring is. That's tomorrow, I think, right? And there's another Curb to watch. There's all sorts of shit to watch tonight. A lot of TV watching to do. It's on Amazon. It's pretty meh. Don't tell me that. I want it to be funny. I thought John Cena was good. We watched Blockers. He was pretty funny in that. I think John Cena's a pretty good actor, actually. He's done well. I'm proud of him. You heard that Nikki Brie or Nikki were there at the Oscars as well. Huh, interesting. What were they doing there? Getting an Oscar? I don't think so. All right, I think that wraps it up. I think I've got everybody just scrolling through here to make sure I didn't miss anything important from you guys. But yeah, right on. WrestleMania month continues to roll on. The next time you will see me will be in 48 hours. Less than that, we're going to be up here watching AEW Big Business together. The link is already up on the channel, so save that for Wednesday. And hang out with me and watch the debut of Mercedes Moné. Back in the day, we used to do Dynamite watch-alongs every week, but then I kind of went back to work on those nights. But occasionally, I'll take one off, and since this is such a big Dynamite, and we're expecting big things to happen, we are going to watch that together. So join us on Wednesday for the Big Business watch along. That should be a lot of fun. I wish you guys a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Monday night. Good luck starting your week or as you continue your week. And I will be catching you here on Wednesday. And then we'll be up here, of course, this weekend for the watch along and another big podcast. And the whole month is going to be busy. So make sure you stay tuned and stay subscribed. Love you all. Be good. Take